He takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop
Look
that
out,
man.
Here comes the blue coat, Kevin.
Oh, they got him.
Here
They're
comes
coming
the
from
blue
the
coats.
left. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard.
Hello and welcome back to Run and Gun. I am Evan Lasek.
And I'm Kelly Warner.
And we're going to bring you up to speed on what happened this week in football. So the 49ers started off on Thursday night with a very close game to the Arizona Cardinals. It was 28-25. San Francisco won, remain undefeated.
That was a bit of a shocker. I thought that would be more of a blowout. But, you know, the Niners, I think I'm still not sure of them because they're definitely still a dominant team. But if you look at their schedule, they really haven't played anyone yet. And I'm just interested to see how they fare. Coming up, they have a long streak of hard games. They play the Seahawks, and then they play the Cardinals again, and then the Saints, and then I think the Packers after that. So that's
very difficult.
That's going to be a tough one, and then that's when we're really going to see who the real Niners are, because I thought that we'd see it with the Panthers game, but then they dominated the Panthers. So I'm like, who are you, Niners?
It's very, very difficult to get a read. Jimmy G looked really good, throwing 4 touchdown passes. George Kittle's still a beast. Their offense is clicking right now, and their defense is just the most dominant thing I've seen. Like they've played fantastic football, and hopefully it continues. Like you said, they play a very tough stretch of games. I would like to see them finish the season strong. I do love Seattle, but I think San Francisco has a real shot at being contenders this year. I think they are a very good football team.
I feel really good about those Seahawks. I think they're definitely in the wild card race if the Niners are the ones that take the division.
Yeah, the NFC West is insane right now with the Rams kind of on a come up, but still I don't put them in the playoffs, but this NFC West, it's going to be a Seahawks and it's going to be a San Francisco battle all the way down.
Yeah, I messed up their schedule. It was Cardinals, Packers, then Ravens, then Saints. So even harder than I said. Because you throw the Ravens in there too.
Yeah, and then they play the Seahawks this Thursday night. That's going to be that is going to be a rough schedule. Yes. That will be a very, very rough schedule.
Yeah, it does not get much easier for them. Their easiest game for the rest of the season is the Falcons. So take that as it. I'm just saying, like, that's an easy game.
The Eagles lost to the Falcons somehow.
I'm just saying, like, take that as it is. Like, that is their that's their easiest one there.
That's a little bit rough. Hopefully.
They had all their easy games at the beginning of the season, so I guess that helps because they're the undefeated team, so they have that momentum going for them.
8-0 looks really good for them, and even if they finish poorly, they still finish at least 500.
Yeah. I've got, like, this thing in the back of my mind where I think that they might end up being like 10-6.
10-6?
And just kind of end up taking, which I think that they still end up winning the division there. Mm-hmm. But I just think that that sounds really different than the undefeated they are now. But I see them kind of taking a hit with these tough games coming up.
Yeah, I could see that too. So we'll bounce over to the Sunday games.
Yes.
The 1 o'clock games. We had
it just got weirder as the week went on.
Oh, it really did. There was the Philadelphia Eagles winning 22-14 to the Chicago Bears.
Which was a good win, and the Eagles looked really good, but then they went and still kind of
started being Philadelphia.
Yeah, then I was like
guys,
how do you do that? The Bears
19-0
looked completely off in the first half. Didn't they have negative yards?
Yeah.
It was terrible. And then you still let them come up to make it a decent loss for them, and I'm like, that's just not good. So Eagles, I just don't know.
At some point, Philadelphia, they got to keep the foot on the pedal and then just keep scoring points. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, the Eagles are someone who also have a really tough schedule coming out.
Well, for the next 2 games, after the bye, they have New England, then Seattle. Then they play the Giants. They have Miami. They have the Redskins. Well, they have the Giants twice. They have the Redskins and Dallas. That's, of course, not in order, but.
Yeah, but say what you want about the NFC East, which I will, but it's still divisional games. Mm-hmm. And the Eagles might, relatively be a better team than the Giants, but I still see them at least
It's a
using the
divisional
Giants
game.
once,
Yeah.
just being like fair. Like I think the Eagles being like honestly, I think I could see them being like an 8 and
That'd be interesting.
yeah,
It's
8 and 7.
Yeah,
Is that
it's 8
is
and
that
8, yeah.
8 and 8? Yeah.
Finishing 500. That's not playoff bound.
But that's just me being realistic when I look at their schedule
Realistic.
and knowing the Eagles and their
5
injuries.
and 4. I think if they drop 3 of them, 9 and 7,
That would be a good ending for them.
That would be a good ending. I don't think it makes the playoffs.
But at least I
But-
think that would honestly 9 and 3 to me I think is their
Or 9 and 7.
well yeah sorry that one would be their best case scenario.
Yeah, I think so too. That's
Just being realistic.
after a rough start to the season like that and just nothing going on. Like Howie Roseman made no moves at the.
Yeah.
They just re-signed Jordan Matthews. I like that a lot. They had no receivers. It's drop city over in Philadelphia. As the one dude said, he was out there catching babies still, and like
Yeah.
Nelson Aguilar had all his mishaps. And
What-
like it still stands. The receivers can't catch a ball in Philadelphia.
What
It's a
really sucks for the Eagles is that if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure the Patriots are on a bye this next week too.
I believe so.
So the Eagles will be coming off a bye, but they'll get the Patriots off a bye and the Patriots off a loss.
Two
So the
fresh teams.
Patriots are going to come off this loss and off this bye like, let's get this. And
Yeah.
like you're going to have a hard Patriots team, and the only thing the Eagles have there is that they're at home. But I don't know how much that's
Philadelphia
really
is a
going to
difficult
matter.
place to play, but also New England's a very difficult team to play.
Yeah.
Last time the Eagles met with the Patriots was the Super Bowl. We all know how that turned out.
Yes.
But it's not the Super Bowl now. It's a lot different.
Yes.
A lot of injuries. And
We
it
are
just
not
doesn't
that
look-
team at all.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the same team. They're still living off the Super Bowl high over there, and they just need to move past it, configure everything, get Carson Wentz the ball. He showed he's still a dangerous man. These receivers aren't helping him at all.
I'll make one more point on this Patriots Eagles game before we move on, and something that we have to remember that works in the Eagles' favor is the Eagles have that uncanny knack of winning against teams they're not supposed to win against.
And then losing to
So
teams they are
that's the
supposed to
only
beat.
thing that's giving me hope with that game for the Eagles is that they have that.
You know, I'll
like
take
just
that.
remember, yeah,
I'll take that luck any day.
yeah. I don't know how that far that's going to take them, but that's the only thing that is working in their favor, I think. Okay, what's the next?
We
game
got
from last week?
Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. Of course, a heartbreaker for Adam Vinatieri. Very bad snap, very bad hold. I don't blame it all on him because when looking at that snap and just seeing the laces, he kicked the ball a couple inches ahead of the football, and it was just because he saw the laces. He saw him, he was like, "Oh crap, I can't make this kick right now. I already know something's messing up." It just psyched him out. So
Yeah.
not entirely his fault. It's still a little bit his fault, but he's one of the best kickers in the NFL.
Because he did just win them
another
game like 2 weeks ago. So
It's just a little rough for them. They lost Jacoby Brissett that game, and I think if Brissett stays in, then it's a different game completely.
do we know
I heard
the extent of
MCL
his
sprain.
injury? Okay. Ooh.
I heard MCL sprain with no timeline yet. So hopefully everything good for him.
Yeah, that's
he
a
was leading
big-
Indianapolis to a great season.
Yeah, I'm
That's-
really I was really high on the Colts, and
Yeah.
I'm still hoping that can end up working out for them. But this is a big win for the Steelers because the Steelers have been in a little bit of a streak, and to be fair, even with how bad they were looking at one point, like win wise, their losses were still pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as I remember, and in the end, if it comes down to Steelers and Colts vying for a wild card spot, then they have that tiebreaker over the Colts. So that is a big deal.
Yeah,
the
Pittsburgh's definitely on the come up there. They've won their
You
last
can never count
3.
them out.
You can never count Pittsburgh out. Mike Tomlin's doing something right. He's lost so many playmakers every single year, yet he continues to make them contenders. And kudos to him because
Yeah,
he's
honestly.
really drawing up a nice game for them.
All right, what's the next game?
Next one, we have Houston and Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Ah,
Those Texans.
that was a poopy
People got to
game
watch
there.
out for them because now they're the top of the division there over the Colts.
Houston won 26-3. I believe that was a London game, correct? I I believe they
Was
were in
it?
London.
Yes.
I remember waking
Yes,
up,
it
they
was
were
in
already
London. You're right.
playing, so.
It was.
But Gardner Minshew is now
Ugh,
benched.
he is
Nick
benched.
Foles.
Nick Foles. You know, that was such a I feel like that was a really under the radar news. I was reading stuff after the end of the week and it just said, "Oh, well they switch out Minshew for Foles." And I was like, "Is Foles even back?" And then he was, and I was just like, I had not heard anything until I read that, and it was just like said really low key, and I'm like, that's a pretty big deal. So excited to see Foles back in. Maybe he can
Nick Foles.
save Jacksonville. We know that
he
Foles
saw
has
it last 2 seasons when Nick Foles
knack for
stepped
that.
in and just led the Eagles to a playoff against
yeah,
all the
but
odds.
when Foles stepped in to the Eagles, they were a 2-loss team. This is a bit of a more
Fair.
work here
Well, even
for
last
Foles.
year, whenever the Eagles finished 9-7, 10-6, I forget which one, but he came in, stepped in for
That's
Carson, led him to the playoffs.
What
Against
is
all odds, made
the
the wild
Jaguars
card.
record right now?
I believe they're 5-3. They're going on the bye this week. 5-3, I think they're 5-4 actually.
They are they're third in their division, so that is
Yeah,
not
I mean the AFC
good.
South is very competitive right now. They're not a bad team by any means. They don't have many big playmakers. Like Nick Foles was the key guy.
They are 4-5.
4-5. You know, I'll still take those odds. They can only.
But
lose
hey, the
1 to
top of
2
their
games.
division is only 6-3, so like
Yeah, so it's very.
you're not
doable.
like competing with an undefeated.
Still a high quality defense even without Ramsey, and I think Nick Foles can somehow whip up some Nick Foles magic and hopefully lead him to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You've seen it before. Dude is crazy good.
We'll see.
But Buffalo beats Washington in Dwayne Haskins' first start, and I think the kid showed some progress.
That game went exactly as I thought it would go.
I think it went exactly as
Yeah,
everybody thought it
Bills
would.
are good, but more importantly, the Redskins are terrible.
Yeah.
Everything is wrong for the Redskins. I don't know
really not
what their
good.
fans are doing. I don't
like historically just a bad team, front office wise.
Well, yeah, you can't.
Trent
it's-
Williams has been living with a cancerous tumor, and they've just completely
I know. So that's
disregarded that.
aside from all the bad stuff. Like they have that going on now, so
Like-
that's just like going to be even worse light for them.
It's the same team that let RG3 play with a bad knee, and then now it's the same team that was letting Trent Williams play with a cancerous
They're just
tumor.
imploding.
They have no idea what's going on in Washington, and it's really showing. Their head coaching situation, just sell the team. I mean,
I was like, what it comes down to is you can't overcome bad ownership.
It's really true. And Terry McLaurin, he's still good, but Dwayne Haskins will figure something out. Hopefully, I really want him to succeed. I don't want anybody to fail, to be fair, except for Dak Prescott. That's just bias, though.
I'm not a Dwayne Haskins fan. I guess I just think I called him as a bust.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I'm not saying he busted yet. Like you
Tua,
can't. It's
still a
way
little
too
too
early
early,
for that. I'm calling in the future. Like I just don't think he's gonna end up panning out. So.
it's going to be tough. They took him pretty high for how young he is, and they were just.
I
him in
think he
terrible
should have stayed
situations.
another year in Ohio.
Maybe, but now you look at the Ohio State. This isn't college football by any means, but you look at the Ohio State team now. And
Ohio State's
they
definitely not missing
definitely
him.
don't
They
need him.
no. I'm saying he needed them.
Yeah, he needed them more than they needed him.
Yeah.
So we'll bounce over to Minnesota and Kansas City.
Now that was a cool game. That was a good
Caro
one.
Santos had that big winner at the end there, pushing KC above Minnesota. Matt Moore was playing good football. Still no picks on his backup role, filling in for Pat Mahomes. And Andy Reid's team is moving. I don't see anybody competing with them in the AFC West, though, just because the AFC West is bad outside of Kansas City and Oakland right now.
I was a little concerned about the Chiefs when they lost Mahomes, and then they did lose. Was it 3 in a row? They lost a couple in a row.
I think they lost 2 in a row there.
Yeah, and but it looked like it could have gotten worse. And then, but like now, I'm seeing that they're still rolling with the backup, and also they have less competition with the AFC West in general. So I'm definitely feel good about the Chiefs. I still put them up in my power rankings.
Yeah, this does hurt Minnesota a little bit in playoff race.
It definitely helped the Packers.
Definitely helped the Packers. I think the Packers are guaranteed going to win the NFC North. I definitely believe the Packers can win and I think they'll keep winning. The NFC North isn't that competitive. You have the Bears right now who are hot garbage with Mitch Trubisky, but the Vikings are competing, and then the Lions, of course, with all their mishaps also. Poor Matt Stafford. I think he plays a really good game, but there's just really unfortunate things for Matt Stafford. We're not getting on that right now.
I completely agree, though. I think the Packers are a dominant team. I have them very high in my power rankings, and I think they'll still end up winning the division, but that doesn't mean that the Vikings aren't giving them some competition there. And I just think with the Packers losing on Sunday, it would have been unfortunate for them to have a Vikings win in there. So they're like thankful to the Chiefs.
Yeah, that loss for the Packers this week. The NFC North, I don't think they won it. They all lost this week.
They did.
Which was pretty
all
rough.
4.
Not for them. I mean, the Packers still remain in first place. If the Vikings would have won that game, then it would have hurt.
But that Packers Chargers game, that was
really rough too. We can talk about that now. San Diego won 26 to Green Bay Packers 11.
The Packers looked like some hot garbage.
It was not good. That was the first time I think this season that Matt LaFleur's team was not rolling. Aaron Rodgers struggled. Devontae Adams even returned, and he could not get the ball moving. Yeah. And the Chargers are not a good team.
No, the way I see
by
that,
any means.
The way I see that game is, yes, the Packers have one loss already. Besides that, they had one loss already, and it was the Eagles, so they weren't undefeated. But other than that, like they were pretty hot. And I'm someone that like, especially with the NFL, like the NFL is not college football. Like you're not going to go undefeated. Like you're going to have some missteps there. And I think the Packers, like this is a kind of a big misstep considering how garbage the Chargers are. But at the same time, it was not a big deal at all to them because the rest of the division lost the same day. And it's something that like I think that this is them taking a misstep where it's not going to hurt them. And then they're just going to come back better afterwards.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a dangerous man.
Yeah,
very dangerous team. And I think they do bounce back. Last time they lost, they then won 4 in a row. And so maybe something like that happens again. They lost to the Eagles, then they win 4 games in a row. Lose to the San Diego Chargers, a game they definitely should have won.
Yeah, but
so
hopefully they just come back hotter after that.
We'll throw it back to the toilet bowl of the week, which actually turned out very well for the Dolphins, winning their first game 26-18 to the Jets, pushing them actually ahead of the Jets, and the Jets are just not good.
Not good.
Not a good football team.
I love that one win of the Cowboys though. That was a good look.
that was very helpful. But Adam Gase, I hope you're watching this, but you should not have a job. Yeah. You're not a QB coach. No. I saw something where Matt Moore, who played for him for the Dolphins, and Ryan Tannehill, who's the starter for the Dolphins. Right now, Matt Moore has 4 touchdown passes. He's playing for the Chiefs, playing great football. Ryan Tannehill has the highest accuracy of his career, most touchdown, and like playing the best game of his or best season of his life so far. And that's all because he had to get away from Adam Gase. And that's just, he shouldn't be an NFL coach if he's going to do that stuff.
That is just the worst thing to hear as a Jets fan. I know.
Especially with a young QB like Darnold that you need to develop.
Honestly, going into this season, I thought the Jets would be competitive.
I think
they had a good. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, it really is the coach there then. I think on paper. As soon
as they hired him,
on paper they were.
They're like, oh, he's a young coach. This is going to be great. We can have him for a while. Oh,
people
no, he's not good.
Get a little too high on those young coaches.
The league going young for head coaching, but they fired on that one. That was rough. We'll go to Carolina, Tennessee. Carolina wins 30-20. Christian McCaffrey, 3 touchdowns, I believe.
That man.
Yet again, 150 total yards. Dude's outrageous. He's putting up numbers comparable to Jim Brown and LaDainian Tomlinson during Tomlinson's MVP season. This dude's just insane. He's carrying the Panthers. Cam Newton is out for the entire season, so it is now officially Kyle Allen's team.
A lot of Panthers fans were disappointed by that. There's a lot of argument in I am from Carolina, so I see all the Carolina Panthers fans, and there's definitely a lot of divide over the quarterback situation.
I mean, right now they're rolling.
Carolina.
They're winning games.
So and then there's those people who are still the Cam Newton faithfuls that are like, you can't just forget what Cam Newton's done.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel for the long run, but I'm definitely someone that's like, don't change. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So with Kyle Allen, like, you're doing well. So I mean, what's to complain about?
Very fair.
So
Kyle Allen is playing good. Tennessee, they have I want to say they have a kicking situation. I think they missed 3 more field goals this week, 2 or 3. Ryan Succop's not kicking the best season, but I mean, you saw Chris Boswell miss a lot last year, and now he's dead accurate. So they're just going to let him get out of this slump, I think.
yeah,
Hopefully keep rolling. And Tennessee, I don't see them coming for the AFC South because the South is so good. Houston's great, Jacksonville's decent, and then Indianapolis really depends on the QB.
At this point, the Titans' best situation is just looking competitive and ending with not a bad record, you know?
Yeah. We were talking about Matt Stafford before. His Lions lost 24-31 to the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders are a very big surprise this year. Not a lot of hype, not a lot of expectations from them, but they're sitting at 4-4, fighting for a playoff berth, which is very surprising. And good for them, honestly. John Gruden's coaching really well over there.
Yeah.
They're playing great football. Well, not great football. They're playing good football.
Which is a lot for the Raiders. The fact that you can use good and Raiders in the same sentence and not put a not in the middle is a good situation for them. So.
That's very true. Very, very true. Hopefully they can keep moving. I want to see some competition over there in the AFC West. Can't just give Pat Mahomes everything.
Oakland plays who next week? They have a good game.
Oakland plays San Diego, so that'll be an AFC West battle.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If they can win that, then that does push them into actual playoff talk. I believe they still have to play the Chiefs twice, so that'll be huge.
Yes, for sure.
But Detroit drops to 3-5-1, 3-4-1, 3-5-1, and I'm pretty positive their season's over at this point. They'll keep trying. They'll get a mid-round pick, but not much hope over there in Detroit. Seattle beats Tampa Bay 40-34. Jameis Winston actually looked like great Jameis Winston this week. You get 2 Jameis Winstons. You either get the terrible one or the first round draft pick one, or the first overall pick. And this week he actually looked like a first overall pick. Didn't play bad, just Seattle played better. Went to overtime. Russell Wilson is having an MVP season.
You really can't stop Russell Wilson. I think he's just such a game changer.
Yeah, 5 touchdown passes that game. Tyler Lockett exploded.
Yeah,
DK Metcalf's making a case for Rookie of the Year.
That's another game I added into the list of how this week was weird, though, was how the fact that game went into overtime.
Tampa Bay does that all the time.
They are just such a weird team, those Buccaneers.
Inconsistency.
Because remember when they ran all over the Rams at the towards the beginning of the season, but then they go and will look garbage.
It's so confusing.
So I'm like, who are you? But I'm glad to see the Seahawks pull that out.
Yeah, I really like the Seahawks. I know they're going to be a great team at the end of the season. They're going to finish strong. A decent schedule for the end of the year. Hopefully they can keep moving. We'll bounce over to Cleveland. They lost 19-24 to the Denver Broncos. Oh, Baker. What is going on?
I think the description for how you feel about the game is just the pictures of him at the press conference, looking like he's asking for cigarettes outside of a gas station.
It looks like he gave up. They're 2-6. He may as well give up.
Yeah,
but
it's that. Remember the beginning of the season when
everybody was so excited.
I knew they were overhyped, but I didn't think it was to this extent. I didn't think they'd be this bad.
Yeah.
It's
really rough. It is really rough, but good for Denver.
Yeah.
New QB,
Broncos
Brandon Allen.
Completely tragic.
Not completely. They have Cortland Sutton. He's really good. Phillip Lindsay is still young. Their defense looked great, and it was more. But this game was more of a story how missed opportunities on Cleveland's side of the ball.
Sure.
OBJ needs to definitely get the football more. He's one of the best athletes in the world, yet he's just not touching it enough.
Which, that just does not make sense with the record.
It really doesn't. He should be getting that ball constantly. Be getting targets at least 10 times a game. We'll go to the Sunday night game.
The
New
big
England.
one.
Yeah. The big upset. Very weird. Very weird, because you'd think Bill Belichick would be more prepared.
Loving Lamar Jackson.
Everybody's loving
Everyone.
Lamar.
Yes. I've been a fan of Lamar, and I'm just glad he could show out here because I think the Ravens were being underrated, and I can say even I underrated them. I did not put them in my power rankings before this game, and now they're definitely making the argument
need to be considered
for the people. Yeah, especially with the Colts being knocked down a bit, the Ravens are definitely those guys in the.
You think New
AFC.
England would be prepared for a guy like Lamar, but they just didn't look ready out there, and that's a difficult game.
Yeah.
But they're on the bye now. They're still ahead of the. Actually, Buffalo is threatening. They're a 2 or 3 loss team, so Buffalo is still threatening the AFC East, which is very, very, very surprising.
So my thought on the Patriots is in the past, just history shows that they as dominant as they are and as bad as their division is, they end up losing a division game here or there.
Hasn't happened yet.
And I think, and I called it at the beginning of the season. I was wrong, but I was not embarrassed by this pick, and I thought the Bills would upset the Patriots when they played in their last matchup.
Mm-hmm. They were close.
And it was a close game. The only thing that worries me on the next time they match up, is that it will be in New England. So that's a different thing.
Foxborough
but
is not fun.
the Bills are pretty hot, and if they stay up, and I think just naturally the Patriots have to lose a division game somewhere, and I'm still feeling like it could be those Bills. So
I think so. The Bills do look
Let's
really, really good, and it's going to be difficult. It will be hard to see how their season turns out.
yeah, I don't know if they'll get a wild card because just AFC in general.
AFC, there's a lot of teams.
Tough, but there's some time. They're definitely not out.
We will talk about the Monday night game. Not a lot to talk about.
Ugh.
Dallas won 37-18.
The Giants really had a chance at one point in that game, and they lost it for themselves. And we can blame it on the Black Hat. I think let's just give it to that. But I just feel bad for Saquon Barkley.
So bad.
The calls, the thing I thought was, if anything, interesting about this game was it got so chippy in the second half. I was watching that game, and it was wrong. Every snap there was I thought there was gonna be a fight, and there eventually was one, and there's just calls on everything.
Will Hernandez was trying to start fights left and right.
Yeah,
a lot of personal fouls on the
chippy
Dallas
is the word for that.
Chippy is definitely the word.
Yeah.
Still a lot of questionable referee calls.
Yeah.
There was only been.
Well, it's the Cowboys. What do you expect?
Yeah, but I thought it was in MetLife. What it may have, I don't know, but it is the Cowboys. I believe there's been 57 challenges, I think, for pass interference, and only 5 have been overturned.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't MetLife, but it didn't seem like it.
No, it never seems like it.
Nope.
But these refs, I don't think they understand, or they know, or they're not really communicating with everybody else what in the world a pass interference call is.
They have been rough all season, and it really gets old.
It's really infuriating because that was a drive stopper once. It was DeAndre Baker got called for a pass interference, and that was ridiculous. That was not at all.
No, that was absolutely ridiculous.
And it was 3rd and 20. It would have been 4th and 20 at that point, and then, of course, they get an automatic first down. They go down and score. Just a game changer.
The Giants lost that game, but the refs did not help.
I think a lot of losses this season can be traced back to the refs. Yeah. And I'm not saying that to cover up for the teams, but a lot of drives.
I will just say, I don't know if I can say they lose or win it, but the refs have definitely had a lot of pull. They have affected these games.
Refs have been the game changers.
100%. Well, remember that Packers-Lions game.
Yeah.
That
was. It's because all the officials, the actual officials, were hired as head officials for teams. Hey, you should challenge this play. That's not a penalty. Stuff like that. So now you have these newbies who are still understanding the rules, who don't really understand what's going on, and they're not noticing things that other people are noticing, or that an experienced ref would notice.
Yeah, I think that is I like that. All right, and so that is the week of games, right? That was the last one?
Yes, that was the final game of the week.
Okay.
Lots of stuff.
Weird week.
Very weird week. We're going to talk about
for the NFC North.
Yeah, rough one. Tank race here. We have 4 or 5 1-7 teams. We have 4 4 1-7 teams.
One still going
0-8.
strong,
Yeah, still
undefeated.
going strong.
Let's
Cincinnati.
go Bengals.
Go Bengals. You got it.
Tanking for Tua 2020.
You know you can finish strong. All you have to do is not win. And as the way you're playing, it looks very likely that you don't ever have to win.
Do you think that the Bengals will keep it up and be the number 1 pick?
Yeah. They have to play Baltimore twice.
I think so, too.
That puts them at 0-9, 0-10 still.
Yeah.
They have to play the Steelers again. They have to play the Bengals or the Browns. They are the Bengals. I think there's a very real possibility they go 0-16.
I thought that the Dolphins would go 0-16.
It was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I was a little bummed, but I thought the Bengals would too. So maybe they can still pull it out for me.
I was really hoping. The Jets gave the Dolphins their first win. So it's going to be a really tight race. I forgot to throw the Redskins on my little paper here, but Washington also sucks.
I hope no good player ends up in the Redskins, because maybe you could save these other teams, but you can't save the Redskins
There's
with
just so
that
much
ownership.
wrong with Washington.
Yeah, so the Bengals play the Raiders, Steelers, Jets. What if can you see the Jets also
if the
losing
Jets
to
give
the Bengals?
them their first win, then you definitely fire Adam Gase.
Yeah, the Browns, Patriots, Dolphins, Browns. So actually, this isn't
not poor. They have to play the Jets and the Dolphins.
If they were smart, honestly, they would just tank it, I think.
I think you have to if you want a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
guaranteed a good quarterback would definitely be a game changer for the Bengals.
Maybe. A.J. Green comes back, so we'll see how that. A.J. Green is playing Week 10, so maybe something good happens. Maybe not. We don't know. A.J. Green's older. He's dynamic, but he's older.
Yep.
Then Jets are just going to keep sucking. Miami's going to keep sucking. Actually, Miami, what are they, 1-7, 1-8? They're finishing the season strong. Going undefeated for the rest of the season. Go Fins. I'm just kidding. There's not a chance they win another game, I think. But you never know. They weren't supposed to win against the Jets.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to Dolphins versus Bengals.
That could be their other win.
I think those teams will be 1 and 2.
Wait, don't the Dolphins play the Jets again for the...
Oh. Do they?
Oh,
they must, because in division.
Yeah, I think they play the
that would be
Jets yet again.
Yeah, that would be
very
crazy.
exciting.
Yeah, well,
Falcons have all the pieces there. They have great players. Yet
those Falcons are just. I feel bad.
I don't know what's going on
for Falcons fans. That's got to be rough.
It really.
Because they're a team that have just been so consistently there, in the running. And then occasionally they've gotten up there, but there's so much disappointment. And
it's really true.
As an Eagles fan, I've experienced my disappointment, but I think it's a lot easier to deal with disappointment when you, you're not getting that far. But the Falcons, are consistently getting, to good places and not making it further. And then
very true.
And of course, it all came down to, that Super Bowl. Even then, I'm just saying, yeah, I think that they're starting to fall out of the running, though. Even with that Super Bowl and everything, they were still in the running. It came down to the year after that Super Bowl, they lost to the Eagles in the second round of the playoffs, and then last year, what did they do? What did they do last year?
I think they sucked again. I think they missed the playoffs.
Okay. Well, then my point is being made. They are out of the running now. They are not the playoff talk team that they were. They have to start trying to rebuild, I think.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Julio Jones is a dynamic player. He just signed a giant contract extension. Yeah. He don't deserve this, honestly. He really don't deserve. I mean, he wants the money. I don't blame you at all getting $15 million a year, but you gotta want to win a little bit more than money. I think getting a Super Bowl championship. They are still on that Super Bowl slump after that.
Mm-hmm.
After that disappointing loss. They're like, well, we're done now.
Yeah.
But talking about Super Bowl, I'm going to go about the playoff picture here.
Ooh.
We'll start with the AFC. So in the East, you have New England.
Yep, that's a definite.
That's a definite. As of right now, the Bills are threatening. But in the South, you have Houston.
I think the Bills are threatening for maybe a wild card spot. They're definitely not threatening the Patriots.
True. Very true.
I don't think
anybody feels threatened if you're the Patriots.
This is not a bold take. It's I think this is I think it's safe to say that they're kind of a shoo-in for at least the AFC Championship.
Usually.
Like, they're just there.
Almost always.
That's my prediction.
They always make
I
it
don't
there.
think it's a bold one. It's just a prediction. Yeah.
Tom Brady don't really lose in the playoffs. But the AFC South, we have Houston, very competitive still. Indianapolis just lost their quarterback. Jacksonville just got theirs back, but Deshaun Watson is playing out of his mind. I think Houston is a lock for the playoffs still.
Yeah, I'd
especially
like to
with
see them
Jacoby
in the
out.
playoffs. It would be interesting to see. I was hoping for the Colts, and maybe they still will, but as a wild card. But Houston would be fun to see.
I like
what they can
Houston.
do.
Dynamic, very dynamic team.
Yeah.
Baltimore is leading the North with only 2 losses in that huge win against New England.
Now,
And the rest of the division, other than the Pittsburgh Steelers, who weren't in the talk of this at the beginning of the year, everybody thought they were done.
yeah, I
and
was
fought their way.
absolutely like Steelers are not making the playoffs, and they still couldn't. So maybe my prediction can still be right there.
Yeah, they're
But they
clawing.
are in the talk now.
They're making it. They're playing good. The QB still a little questionable. Got to throw the ball downfield.
Yeah.
When your leading receiver was Jalen Samuels, who had 13 catches, that's a little rough. You got to throw the ball a little bit downfield. Kansas City's leading the West, but Oakland is also threatening. So there's a lot of teams that are fighting for a reason to be considered.
Yeah.
I don't think these
Who are
teams
your 4?
My 4. So my 4, I'm keeping it with New England, Houston, Baltimore, KC as the division leaders. But the top 2, my wild cards are going to Pittsburgh, and I think it's going to Buffalo also. I think Buffalo goes back to the playoffs in the AFC. Who you got in the playoffs there?
Okay, well, I agree with your 4. I think that is shoe-in. I got to think on these wild cards. Those Colts.
The Colts are good, but
That comes down to Jacoby
it
Brissett,
really does.
and I don't know. I like Buffalo. I'm gonna take that, and yeah, I'm gonna throw the Steelers in there because they still have that tiebreaker over Indy, and I think that
I
will
think that'll
come
help.
back to bite the Colts. But
In
help
the-
Steelers.
In the NFC, we have the Green Bay Packers in the NFC North. Very difficult division, and they're still leading. New Orleans is pulling out the NFC South with only 1 loss. San Francisco is, of course, undefeated in a very competitive NFC West. Notice how I'm saying very competitive because every single division is a fight, I believe. I think there's a fight all the time. And then Dallas is 5-3, I think, in leading for the
The
East.
NFC least.
Yeah, they're all very competitive fights. It's going to be interesting to see who actually
yeah, the
wins.
NFC East is a competitive division. There's all kind of
They're all-
garbage, but
Yeah,
they're all
especially
like,
this year.
yeah, this is
Um,
competing for the top of the worst division.
I think Green Bay stays there. I think New Orleans stays there.
Yes, I think those 2 are definite.
San Francisco, as you mentioned, they have a very difficult rest of the season, so I could see Seattle climbing over them, but I still think San Francisco makes the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think San Francisco and Seattle are both shoo-ins for the playoffs. It just depends on which of them is going to be the division winner and which of them is going to be the wild card. But I don't think it would be a bad thing to be in either place.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think that wild card team would be any worse off.
Yeah, I could also see Dallas dropping out to Philadelphia just because of
it's
schedule
possible.
for the rest of the season. They had a very, very easy schedule the first half of the season.
Yeah, they had
to-
that 7-game preseason going for them.
It was very, very great for them. But now they're rest of the season they play actual teams. It's going to be interesting to see what
yeah,
happens.
they still don't. I've looked at the Cowboys' schedule, and it's definitely Eagles' schedule is harder on paper. Of course, you can never tell how the games will go, but the Eagles do play Dallas in Philly next time, and I think that
It's gonna be a
changes
little
things
harder.
up. And last season they lost to Dallas twice, but that's not a usual
They
thing.
were very close games too.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
not a
both went
usual
to
thing,
overtime.
so I think it is a good. Yeah, I just think the NFC East is still up in the air.
very up in the air.
I don't think the Cowboys are dominant. That is
Whoever-
not a word that could be used for that team.
I don't think an NFC East team makes the playoffs if they don't win the division, just because of how competitive that NFC is.
Yeah, and that is fair. I think someone was just talking, and they were talking about the Eagles' possibilities, and I don't think the Eagles make it in the playoffs unless they win the division. And then even then, if they are, that would be a tough game, whatever game they end up in. Just the.
So we said Seattle and San Francisco were they were both guaranteed a playoff spot. That leaves one more wild card, and I think it's going to Carolina. I think Carolina's a good football team, and I think they can continue to play that way as long as Christian McCaffrey continues to do what he's doing.
I'm gonna give my last spot to Minnesota.
Minnesota, that's not bad. That's not bad, actually.
Yeah, and I think that the two of us saying either of those means we're kind of covering our bases. I think it will be one of those two.
It's going to be
but
definitely.
I'm giving it to Minnesota.
Yeah,
I think
it's going to be a real toss-up.
They're shocking me. I did not think they'd even be in these talks.
That's what I'm saying about
to
Carolina,
be honest.
too. After losing Cam Newton, you think their season's over, but...
No, I'm happy for Carolina, but I'm going to just give mine to the Vikings. That's just how I'm feeling
all they're doing is
right
feeding
now.
the rock to C-Mac and letting him do what he's doing, and it's
that
working,
is the answer, for sure.
Definitely. So we're going to talk about the top 4 playoff contenders, 2 from the AFC, 2 from the NFC, basically who's going to get the first-round bye. So AFC, my first-round bye, I believe you have to give it to Baltimore, and you have to give it to New England. I think they're going to be number 1 and 2 seed. And I think New England will finish with that 1 seed again, or not again, but I think they finish 1 and then Baltimore finishes 2 because those are just 2 dynamic teams. KC has a chance, but they're going to have to claw their way back up after Pat Mahomes went out. NFC, I'm giving it to...
I wish the Ravens played... Oh, they do. The Ravens did play the Chiefs, but the Chiefs won.
Yeah, the Chiefs destroyed.
Do you think that will end up being a thing in the end?
It could affect them, but... Right now, Baltimore has the better record. I don't see them dropping a lot of games for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was just making sure I was checking my bases, but definitely I think
they do own that tiebreaker.
I think New England Ravens are the bye teams for sure. They are the top.
NFC, NFC's a real toss-up right now, just because of the competitiveness.
I'm going.
New Orleans definitely, I think, own one of the spots. And I'll give them 1 for right now because I'm not sure how San Francisco's going to end.
The Saints are unstoppable. They've just got this magic, I think, and I think they are going to get back to the NFC Championship.
And I think they win this time.
I'd love to see it. But
Drew Brees
giving my 2 top spots in the NFC to the Saints and the Packers.
See, that's a difficult one. I like Seattle sneaking up and taking the NFC West from San Francisco. Just because Russell Wilson plays very highly and he plays with a lot of passion.
I'm so excited to see the Niners play the Seahawks.
This game is going to be huge.
And I actually picked the Niners to win.
Interesting.
But I still think
Seattle.
that does not give them the division, if that makes sense. I think Seattle can still cover them. The way I see the Niners season going, I said I can definitely see 10-6.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I just see them still sneaking away with this win over the Seahawks, but then losing, obviously I said 6 games. They're going to go on a bit of a streak of losses.
I think so, too.
I just think it's going to come a little later. So and this is odd because I don't want to pick the Niners, but I feel it that they will beat the Seahawks. But I definitely think the Seahawks are not out of the divisional race. They can win the division. They can jump over the Niners.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see Russell Wilson back in the playoffs, back in a Super Bowl talk. Yeah. He's a really, really good player. The Seahawks are a really good team.
If they do that, he would definitely be pretty high in that MVP talk.
I think so too, which is they usually give it to a QB, so I don't expect much else. We'll talk about this week's games. We'll touch a little bit on each one. So San Diego plays Oakland. I think Oakland's got the win there.
Yes.
Oakland's definitely rolling. San Diego's not that. They came off the Green Bay win, but I think Oakland puts them in their place. Yes. Los Angeles Rams plays the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rams are coming off a bye. Pittsburgh's coming off a big win. That's a tough one, but I'm going to give it to the Rams here just because the dynamic. I love the Steelers. I love what they're doing, but
I'm also giving it to the Rams.
They have to be a little more aggressive, I'd say, before they can just get a game against that, like a big team against the Rams. So I got to go Rams. Detroit, Chicago.
I'm going Lions.
Go Lions. All right. I'll join you on the Lions there. I think
I don't know. I'm just
I think
feeling
that
it.
could work.
Matt
I think,
Stafford, you know.
yeah, and then Mitch Trubisky on the other side.
Yeah,
Ugh,
let's just
ugh,
say I'm
ugh.
just looking at the first. They may have come up a little on the Eagles there, but
But the Eagles are also playing prevent. We know how.
and I think the Lions, aside from their record, the Lions aren't.
They're not bad. They lose.
Yeah, and I think they'll beat the Bears.
They
I just
lose
really
by
see it.
little points. Like it's usually a touchdown.
Yeah, so I'm going Lions.
Baltimore plays Cincinnati in Ryan Finley's first start.
Let's go Ravens in a blowout.
Easy money on the Ravens there.
Yeah, I wonder what the spread is in that game. I'm gonna
Oh, I would still give the points to the Baltimore if they're given -21. Honestly,
Yeah, I was gonna say I hope the spread's like at least 20.
that's gonna be a blowout for sure. Kansas City plays Tennessee. Definitely Kansas City win. Not sure if Pat Mahomes is playing this game or not, but I think KC pulls it off against Tennessee regardless. What you got for that?
For the
KC, Tennessee.
Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Atlanta plays New Orleans. New Orleans easily pulls off the win there. Atlanta's a joke currently. So, yeah, that's about that one there. Atlanta will not do anything against this New Orleans team.
No, absolutely not. Another blowout.
Battle in the Bronx. New York Jets, New York Giants.
I'm going Giants here.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
While the Giants are still not great,
Yeah, but I'm
the
definitely
Jets are
feeling
just
good
that
about
bad.
them here.
The Jets
yeah.
are just that bad. Arizona plays Tampa Bay. I'd like to see Kyler Murray pull off this win. I'd also like to see Jameis Winston just continue to be what he looked like on Sunday.
Yeah,
But
I'm going
I think
Buccaneers here.
I'm going Arizona there. I think they got it.
Ooh.
I think David Johnson's coming back this week, so I'd like to see what happens. Mike Evans is playing great, though, and so is Chris Godwin. Miami will lose to Indianapolis. That's not a question.
Absolutely.
Regardless of who Indy
The
has
Colts
at
are
QB.
lucky that that's who
They get
they're going to
week
go play after their injury and after their sad loss. They get to have a nice little break there.
I think one of the games of the week, these three games actually right here, Carolina and Green Bay,
Ooh, I'm
that's a huge game.
excited for that. I'm going Packers.
I'm going Carolina there.
Ooh.
I think McCaffrey will. Green Bay can't really cover running backs. So,
That's
as you
fair.
saw Melvin Gordon, you saw Jordan Howard earlier in the season, those losses were completely dominated by running backs. So, I think McCaffrey will just destroy them.
I just think
single-handedly.
this Packers team, I think they'll win, but like aside from win or loss, this is definitely going to be a competitive game, and the Packers are going to come out hot just because they just lost that terrible loss, and they're just going to be ready to go.
You don't see Aaron
Where
Rodgers.
is that game?
Oh, let me check. I believe the game's in Carolina, but
They're lucky because Packers
If it's at
Stadium is
Lambeau,
covered
yeah.
in snow.
Oh, that's a rough game. That'd be a rough game to play.
So
in,
they
too.
get to go to nice, I'm sure, sunny Carolina.
Hopefully, because Carolina's probably not used to playing in snow there.
Yeah, that would definitely change the landscape of that game. Are you looking at where
I
it is?
am looking because I do not remember. Oh, it is in Lambeau, actually.
Game changer.
Yeah, that's a rough one for them.
So, yeah, good
Green
luck
Bay's
to those
given-
Carolina boys.
Yeah, Green Bay's given a 76%
Yeah, you get about
chance to
maybe
win.
2 inches of snow in Carolina.
That's going to be interesting to see. Definitely must watch there.
Yeah, I'm excited for
Minnesota.
that one.
Minnesota and Dallas. That's a tough one because if Minnesota loses and Dallas wins,
That will be
it makes it better for the Eagles in the wild card. But also, if you get Minnesota to win, then Dallas drops
yeah.
2-5-4
I think
also.
Minnesota will win.
I think Minnesota will
I'm
win
also rooting for Minnesota. So
I think
go
I
Vikings.
think most of the nation, except for Cowboys fans, are. There's so many people who hate the Cowboys, and I love it. Makes me happy. And then, of course, the Monday night game, Seattle and San Francisco.
So excited for this game. I already told you my pick.
I actually have to do some critical thinking here.
It's a tough one. I thought about it a while, but something in me says it will be a close game. I'm talking maybe 2-3 points.
2 or 3 points is.
Niners pull it out.
I think Seattle comes in and wins just because Russell Wilson's rolling and he knows it's going to be.
I
a fight
definitely
in the
wouldn't
division.
be sad to be wrong on this one.
Because that's just such an exciting game.
Yes. I'm
Russell
just
Wilson.
really, this is one.
Oh,
I watch a lot of NFL games, but there's only a couple that I'm like, yes, this one. I'm so excited to see this. This is one I'm excited to
I think there are so many playmakers on offense for the Seahawks. It'll be difficult for the dynamic defense of the 49ers to cover them all.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the D-line, the linebackers, Quan Alexander's now out for the season, so that does take a blow to them.
What's interesting about this game is both of these teams, as good as they are, they both have their struggles. And Seahawks did show some in their Raiders game. Is that who they? No, the Buccaneers. They just played the Buccaneers. And I have to think of what they were, but the Niners defense is so good, but they definitely showed they were humbled with the Cardinals.
By the Cardinals.
And
now,
if
to be
anyone's
fair, that
gonna,
is a divisional game. Well,
oh
so
yeah,
is
they
this.
were humbled there, and I'm not saying that I'm definitely not saying that they're a bad defense or anything, but they were humbled. And if anyone humbles a defense, it's Russell Wilson.
Very true. Gotta keep them honest.
But are they going to come back hotter after just having that tough game to the Cardinals? I don't know, because you could have the Niners that played the Panthers.
Very true.
You know,
putting up 50 piece like that would make it very difficult to win a game.
Yeah, but the Seahawks.
I can't see the Seahawks allowing that or Russell Wilson.
It's going to be a tough game for both teams. I'm excited to see who pulls it out, but something in me says Niners. But I do think that the Saints are going to give them running for their money when they play again at the end of the season, right?
Yeah, they got another game too.
So yeah, I think that they definitely split their matchups for sure.
I could see that. I could see a 1-1 season, and that would make playoffs very interesting for the NFC.
I think this division is the one to watch.
All right, so we're gonna hit our 2-minute warning here on the podcast. If you've tuned in this long, then I mean you may as well listen to it. It's only 2 minutes, so what's 2 minutes out of your life, you know? But I want to talk about MVP. So Christian McCaffrey, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. Those are my 3 favorites. Oh, crap, I forgot Lamar Jackson. So 4 favorites. Really difficult and a very QB-heavy award. I love McCaffrey, though. He's putting up insane numbers. He's putting up numbers comparable to MVP season of LaDainian Tomlinson. But I think for him to win, he has to finish strong. The season has to finish strong for the Panthers, of course. They have to make the playoffs, I think, because they're not going to give you the award if your team does nothing. But, of course, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, they are playing out of their minds right now. They are phenomenal QBs, putting up big touchdowns, keeping their teams in games, winning games. And Lamar Jackson has the rushing yards and the passing yards and all the touchdowns. And just the highlight reel for him so far this season has been outstanding. I do want to give it to McCaffrey, but I think it can go to Russell Wilson. And I wouldn't hate seeing that.
Okay. I like your picks. I think those are the 4. And I do think that Christian McCaffrey is someone that maybe deserves it the most, but I do think it's a quarterback award, and that does come back to, I think if McCaffrey gets the Panthers far into the playoffs, I don't think they have to win out everything, but if they get far, then I think he definitely is up there in the talks, but that all comes down to how far the Panthers can go, because as good as you are and as much as he's carrying the team, which I don't blame him for not being able to carry the team all the way because you're only one guy, but that's what it comes down to. And then I think Russell Wilson is probably the choice there. I just think, and I hope so, honestly, because he's someone that's just so consistently carried his team. And think the thing that comes down to that might bring Lamar Jackson down is how he performs in the playoffs, because he's still young, and as we've seen in the past, when he had to play in the playoffs, he kind of gets killed by the pressure. So I want to see if he can maybe come back and be better this time, but that's what's going to affect him in the end.
All right, that's very good points. I'd love to see how the MVP race turns out. I'd love to see how the season turns out.
Yes.
Hopefully the Birds can make it to the playoffs. That'd be lovely.
We'll see.
But thank you for tuning in. If you were able to tune in this long, very much appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
They have shut the lights off at Innovation where we do our podcast, so it's a little creepy here right now. It's not even Spooktober anymore.
Let's hope that we can come back for another run and gun.
I really, really hope so. I mean, I don't want to get locked in here forever. But thank you very much for listening. I am Evan Lasek.
I'm Kelly Warner.
Tune in to PSSN. They had some great stuff on college football and NFL. tune into our other podcasts, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.